So are you truly prepared, or have you forgotten these important things? You know, no one can be 100% prepared. I mean, that's impossible. But a lot of times we concentrate our effort on the big type of events. You know, natural disasters, maybe an economic disaster, or a man-made disaster such as a nuclear problem. But sometimes we forget what's very, very important and a lot more likely to occur. So I want you to listen, go through each of my points, and see if you have these bases covered. I'm going to go over things that you should have prepped at your home and things that you should have prepped about yourself. Have you educated all the members of your household that if your basement should flood for any reason, be it from outside water coming in or your pipes breaking, not to walk directly into the water until the power's been cut off? I can give you a personal story. At our old house, I noticed water coming out of the garage door. I thought, what the heck? It's kind of on a hill. I open the garage door and all this water starts rushing out. So what do? Yeah, I don't think. I run into the garage, open the door, run into the basement, and notice that the big screen TV, the light's still on. So we had power, but we had water, and I could have died. So educate your family on that simple fact. In your lifetime, you have a 1 in 4 chance of experiencing a house fire. That's 25%. And of those household members, 1 in 10 will be injured in that house fire. I mean, that is really, really high. So, have you practiced a fire drill with your household members? Do you regularly check your smoke alarms? And have you taken a video or written inventory of all your items in case there was a fire loss? I can speak from personal knowledge. We had a very, very extensive fire at our last house. We were out of our house for 9 months while they were doing repairs. And believe me, I had records, but I did not have a video account, nor did I have everything in a nice spreadsheet. And so 10 years later, we go, oh gosh, that's right, that was in the basement, or that was in the attic, and we lost that. It's really important for insurance purposes to keep an accurate record of all your supplies, including your prepping supplies. You know, speaking of a fire, it's interesting that 2 out of 3 people do not have adequate homeowners insurance, and it will only protect them for 78% of the costs of their belongings. So it's really important annually to review your homeowners insurance and make sure you have the right amount of coverage, and make sure it is replacement cost coverage. Another important thing to consider with your homeowners insurance is that it has limits of liability. So you should always, if you're hiring people, ask them for proof of insurance. You don't want an uninsured workman to get injured on your property and then you are going to be responsible for paying their medical costs. So check your homeowner's insurance, and if necessary, get an umbrella insurance to cover these unexpected expenses. But always ask for proof of insurance before you hire a repair person. So according to the CDC, poisoning is the #1 cause of accidental death, and that is from illicit drugs and prescription drugs combined. Do you have the poison control number pre-programmed in your cell phone so you can call it quickly if need be? Do you have any prescription drugs, or if you're into illicit drugs, put away so your teenagers cannot get at them, or even worse, toddlers? Do you have a carbon monoxide tester in your home? Every year, 20 to 30,000 people suffer from carbon monoxide poisoning, and 500 people die. And I would think when there is a emergency type natural disaster, a lot of people might be using their camping heaters or things of that nature, and you have a lot more instances of carbon monoxide poisoning. So does everyone in your household And that's including the occasional babysitter or house sitter. Do they know how to turn off your water and your gas? If not, please show them. Do you have all your fuse switches, labeled in your fuse box? We have 3 different boxes for our main house and then 1 for the outbuilding. And I have to admit, I'm still in the process of labeling them all. But boy, does that make things a lot easier. Do you regularly perform a backup of all your important data on your PC and your family pictures? Statistics show that 1 in 3 people will lose everything on their PC. So it's really important to do a backup and to keep that backup off-site or maybe in the cloud. Now, in addition to a grab-and-go binder, I got a video on that, you should have copies of your important documents kept either in the cloud or maybe at a friend's house or someplace else so you could easily get to them if you needed it in a disaster. Now, let's talk about you. That's right, you. What would happen if you were in a car accident, a really bad head injury, and was in a coma for a significant time? You have your signed durable power of attorney for healthcare and finances? Do your loved ones know where those documents are? Does your significant other know your banking and auto pay passwords? And most importantly, when's the last time you told a loved one that you loved them? Do you see your doctor for your annual health exam, and do you follow through on their recommendations? Do you see your primary care physician or your dermatologist for a full body scan for skin cancer? Well, you should. 1 in 5 people will develop skin cancer, and every hour in the United States, 1 person dies from melanoma. Do you make sure you get your tetanus booster every 10 years? Well, if not, why not? Because believe me, you don't want to step on that rusty nail and get lockjaw. Incidents are very rare in the United States, but that's because most of us are vaccinated. Each year, close to 1.4 million Americans will experience a heart attack, and 500,000 will die from that heart attack. So it's really important you take care of yourself, but also be sure to keep an aspirin, that's 325 milligram aspirin, with you in your car, in your house, at your workplace. In case something would happen, you chew it and swallow it, or it's also great to have in hand in case somebody else you know is experiencing a heart attack. There is clinical evidence that chewing and swallowing a 325 milligram aspirin, which is non-esteric coated, at the first sign of a suspected heart attack can help lessen that heart attack's aftermath. So it's really important, and it's such a simple thing to have on hand. Do you know your family's medical history? Well, for some of you that might be difficult. If you're like my husband, he was adopted. However, I was able to locate his birth mother and get a health history, which was very helpful, because some things, such as heart disease, has a genetic component. So it's really good to know that. So I have made a list for each of my children, of what significant family members have had in their lifetime or what they have died from. And it's really a good idea to keep that type of information. So do you take unnecessary risks? I know I do. I'm guilty. But you really should think about it. Every year, 6,000 people die from falls at home. And I think we've all done things that we probably shouldn't do. Give you an example. My sister-in-law was up at her cottage. She's 75 years old. She was by herself for the weekend, and there was a bee nest way up above. So she got out the extension ladder and got up there herself and is spraying the bees. Now, what would happen if she fell? It could be days before she'd even be found. Again, did she fall? No. Did she take care of the bee problem? Yes, she did. But we all take unnecessary risks. Think of the recent hurricane. My nephew actually lives in Estero, Florida. And I called him up and I said, Bob, come on, come back home. And he said, no, we're going to stay. We have, our house is category 5 rated, and we have steel shutters on the windows, and we're 7 miles from the ocean. And I kept saying, no, come. And he said, I don't even think the eye of the storm is going to come this way. Well, the eye passed right over him. Yes, he and his house did end up to be completely fine, but it could have been just the opposite. And really, it's an unnecessary risk. And we should all think about the unnecessary risks we take every day. I'm going to end this video with asking a question, and you don't have to answer it, but how much time do you spend every day strengthening your relationships with your significant other, your children, and other loved ones? Do you spend as much time on that, communicating with them, as you do watching YouTube videos or being in Hangouts? Understand that the divorce rate is, in my county, it's 50%. So I have to ask, are you spending enough time with those that you love? Are you worrying about big events that might happen instead of enjoying the present? Just think about that, because the here and now is pretty important. And yes, things can happen, but they might never happen. But now is the time to strengthen your bonds with your family and enjoy them while you still can. So, this is Potpourri saying, please subscribe, share the knowledge, thumbs up if you like this video, and as always, thank you so much for your support.